Hi students, so this lesson focuses on simplifying expressions, using distributive property and combining like terms. In this case, example 1, we have 7 groups of 1 minus 8n. We will use multiplication because we have 7 groups, which means it's repeated addition of the entire quantity inside the parentheses. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times negative 8n is negative 56n. Another way to say that is 8n is in subtraction. How much subtraction do we have? 7 groups of subtracting 8n, or subtract 56n. Our simplified expression looks like this. Now what really happened? Let's look down here at these boxes. Inside each box is 1 minus 8n. How many boxes do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7 groups of 1 minus 8n. We can simply count them up if we split them out like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 ones. Take away 8n, there are 7 of those as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that would be 7 times the takeaway of 8n, or negative 56n. I go into detail with this first one since you may be a little rusty coming in off of the summer, or maybe you have forgotten the theory behind the parentheses, the multiplication, and the grouping of 1 minus 8n, for example. So let's move on to another example now that we've gone through this one with a little bit more detail. And we're going to do number 2. Number 2, you can see, has multiplication operation arrows right above it. The expression is negative 8 groups of b plus 3. If we have negative 8 groups of b, then we will have negative 8b. That would be using the multiplication operation arrow, negative 8 times b, or negative 8b. The multiplication operation arrow here takes us to negative 8 times positive 3. We have a negative times a positive, and that gives us a negative 24. Our simplified expression is negative 8b minus 24. Let's look at another example. Here we have example 3. Example 3 does just about the same thing. We have multiplication operations, but we have a lot of negatives going on here. So let's see how that will work out. We have negative 6 groups of 9 minus 9b. So we'll have the multiplication of negative 6 times 9. That's a negative to a positive, so we get negative 54. And we have negative 6 times negative, or the subtraction of 9b. So a negative times a negative is a positive. And here you see we have 6 times 9 is 54. The negative turned into a positive because we had a negative multiplied to a negative value. So our simplified expression is negative 54 plus the 54b. Let's do one more example here that will take us to a little bit higher level. We're going to do number 12 here from some practice problems. So here we have number 12. Number 12 has got an added term after the expression that's in a distributive sort of configuration. So we have what we already know, which is easy peasy, negative 5 times a minus 6 in a group. And then we add 2a. So we're going to move ahead here and do negative 5 times a, and we'll get negative 5a. Then we'll do negative 5 times negative 6, and we will get positive 30. Then there's no more multiplication to do because there's an addition sign, so we will just bring down add 2a. Now, because one of our learning targets is to focus on combining like terms, I have circled the like terms, and those are the A terms. So listen, we have negative 5A plus 2A. Let's look at the number line down below. We started with an amount called negative 5A. We don't know how much A is, but there's 5 of them. It's like a little multiplication problem of something we don't know what the A is. It's a box full of money, maybe. So we have negative amounts, and we must owe some people some A amount of money, 5 times. So we'll start there, and then we move positive direction. So it's less negative and less negative, meaning we've gotten to a more positive number from negative 5A, but it's still negative. Our final answer is a little bit of subtraction of 5 minus 2, but we're still in the negative area, so we get negative 3A plus 30. Now don't forget, keep that number line diagram handy, because it can keep you clean and clear, so you know exactly what your answer is going to be. We have one more example for this lesson, and it's a little bit trickier. And here we go. It's just more fun, or maybe just a little bit more work, for example. So we just call it a little bit more work. So we have from number 15 we have. Let's read it out. Negative 5 groups of 1 plus 2k minus 8 groups of negative 4 plus 5k. When we reason about this, we think, oh, that's really like a lot of rocket science, but we already see that it's not that complicated. We have already done a problem that looks exactly like that, and we've already done a problem that looks exactly like the back end here, like that. So negative 8 groups of negative 4 plus 5k. So we're just going to take it easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So let's just look at the front end here, and I recommend that you cover up parts of your equation if it feels too complicated, and work on what you know step at a time, one step at a time. So we have negative 5 groups of this quantity, so negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Negative 5 times the positive 2k gives a negative 10k. Now you're keeping track of your negative sign. This looks like subtraction, but it's negative. It's both. Okay, now we're going to move to the last part of this expression to simplify it and break it all out. We'll have negative 8. Now don't forget, you cannot leave that minus sign behind. So I want you to think of it as a negative. Negative 8 times negative 4, and negative 8 times positive 5. So what we get here is a positive 32, because that was a negative times a negative, 8 times 4. And this was a negative times a positive, so we got negative 40k. Now we have to put our k's together. The tricky part is keeping track of the negative or the subtraction signs. We start at negative 10k on the number line. Then we move negative 40k. We get negative 50k. Then we look at our numbers, or our constants, and we find that we have a negative 5 added to 32. And so we get I have a little error right there, so let me cover it up and get the right answer in there for you. So we did a little subtraction over here on the side. 32 minus 5 was 27, and that's really what this is a hidden take away 5 and a plus 32, so we get 27. Our final answer there is negative 50k plus 27. Now there are a few more practice problems in your handout. I want you to practice them. Some answers are given in an answer sheet for you to check your work. If you have any questions, don't forget to reach out.